All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Legend of the Three Kingdoms. Yes, this is one of my homebrew D&D campaigns set in my weird, messed up D&D campaign setting, and the people below me are all people that we had a fun time talking about nonsense that's happening in the world right now. Watch out for your Kia car. Apparently, they're super easy to
Kia
steal.
car, entertainment law,
Yeah, whatever.
Ticketmaster.
The world's just is given up. The world is rage quitting at this particular point in time. Announcements. I released another episode of Essential Lessons 20 today. It is my series where I look at. Right now, I'm focusing on the roles, which are their equivalent of classes, in Essence 20, and just talking about different things that you can do with them. Today's episode is the Pink Ranger, which the Pink Ranger role in the Essence 20 Power Rangers RPG is like this shy of being broken. Like in a system where your normal amount of damage is like 1 or 2 damage per hit, and you only get 1 or maybe 2 attacks per round, the Pink Ranger can do 64 damage in a single turn if things go well for that character. So, yeah, it's a cool series. People have been really enjoying it, and I'm starting to run low on Power Rangers. I think I only have yellow, red, and then white, and then I get to start looking at GI Joes and Transformers. So check it out. I'm super proud of it, and I believe I'm the only person on YouTube right now that's making Essence 20 content. So,
And when you run out, you'll just homebrew your Pirate Rangers.
yeah, again, they had skull and crossbones on their helmets. Another thing that I am really excited about, or I guess there's two different things. One, the Final Fantasy 14 tabletop RPG, they have like a starter set, basically their version of the red box. Apparently, the original pre-orders for that have actually already started going out to people. So if you were lucky enough to pre-order it before their first printing sold out, congratulations. I'm really excited to see how the system works. They have a second printing. It's looking like the second printing won't get delivered until like September or October. But that's very cool and interesting. In addition, though, there's currently a Kickstarter by the guys that make 13th Age. If you watch my YouTube channel, I actually did a Discovering New Dragons and Designing New Dragons series on 13th Age. It basically takes all the awesome stuff from 4th edition and some of the awesome stuff from 3rd edition and combined it together to create this really cool, interesting tabletop RPG. They have been working on a second edition of it for well over like a year and a half or 2 years. They finally started a Kickstarter for it, and I think at this point it's a little over halfway through its run. The Kickstarter ends in early June, so I guess they're relatively close. I think they only have a week or two left in the Kickstarter, but they've already funded the damn thing by a pretty large margin. But yeah, 13th Age, I absolutely love the system. I think it's super cool and unique. I am extremely excited to see what the second edition of 13 Age does. And according to them, all this stuff will be backwards compatible with the 13th Age stuff. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm excited. You all should be excited. If you want to get involved in it, just look up 13th Age second edition and it'll get you to their Kickstarter. So, cool stuff there. Matt Colville, you need to let Dale Kingsmill name your RPG system. Any other cool stuff happening in the world of like tabletop RPGs? I think I filled out a survey for my Sentai and Sensibility, so I think that's going to be coming eventually. The nonsense that happens is just
Amazing.
yeah, like there's no other way to say it other than yeah, so yeah, lots of cool stuff happening. Break, the RPG I've talked about a couple times on here, a kind of Miyazaki inspired tabletop RPG. I believe they're really darn close to an actual public release. I believe like their physical printing has already been done and stuff like that. So hopefully that'll be coming. I already have my PDF copy of the final book because I backed it and it's amazing. I
Oh,
love the system.
I remember seeing that earlier. Hunters Entertainment announces Kids in Capes.
Kids and Capes. That sounds interesting.
Like, like kids on bikes and kids on brooms.
Oh, are they the people that make kids?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I knew that they were doing something because I heard that they were like updating Kids on Bikes or making a Kids on Bikes second edition kind of thing. Kids in Capes sounds really good. Kids in Capes was like my childhood. I can't tell you how many times I took a towel and tied it
Yep.
around my neck.
Oh yeah.
Like that, I hyper identify with that. Like Kids on Bikes, yeah, I used to ride my bike around a little bit, but bike riding was to get to places. I didn't like, wasn't riding, having adventures on my bike. But yeah, Kid in a Cape, it's 100% me. That sounds cool. Are they kickstarting it, or do you know?
It was a recent announcement. I heard it today.
Oh well, that would be very very cool. The Kids on Bike system is really nice from what I remember of it.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I actually have, if I own a copy of that or not. It's cool stuff. I've seen, who was it? Hyper RPG did a series or two that used kids
Yeah.
on
Kids in
kids on
Space.
bikes.
Yeah.
They did Kids in Space.
Yeah. So
That was one Lucas ran.
here's cool stuff going on. God, we are in. I hate it when people go, God, this is the worst time ever for RPGs. It's like, no, it's not. We live in an
fucking saying
RPG
that.
utopia. Every time
We're s-
something
we're
comes out
selling
about
we're
Wizards of the
selling
Coast,
we're selling out Wembley Stadium, Madison Square Garden. We're like the Greek.
Yeah.
well, like we are continually getting new awesome stuff. Like I just saw a casting call go out for somebody is going to be running a charity event where they're going to be running thirsty sword lesbians, which shouldn't be a thing, but it is. And God, like I said, that we have Sentai and Sensibility, and the Essence 20 system where you can be a Power Ranger, a Transformer, or a GI Joe, and can team up with Power Rangers, Transformers, and GI Joes, or be a My Little Pony, and do cool stuff like that. There's Ryutama, and now Break is coming out based on that. There's Fabula Ultima, and their new techno fantasy book just launched, which was amazing and fun. Like there are so many amazing tabletop RPGs out there. And yeah, and the new Vecna book, despite the early access kerfuffle, the Vecna Eve of Ruin is a really solid high level adventure. Like it's 100%. It's a great swan song for not only fifth edition, but also as a kind of celebratory 50 years of D&D, because they go all the way back to stuff from Greyhawk, and they pull in literally every setting that has shown up in 5th edition is represented in it, and it's so freaking cool. They bring back Death House. Death House is the coolest introductory adventure ever. Oh, we live in a D&D or a tabletop RPG renaissance right now. Any other cool stuff going on? I guess I can mention I have a friend. His name is Lex, and Lex has been portraying Bert in Mary Poppins, the musical, the stage musical, in San Francisco for the last couple weeks, and he is getting rave reviews. So I am super proud
Good.
of my friend who is doing awesome stuff on stage. So if you're in the Bay Area, which I really hate the term the Bay Area because we have a Bay Area in Wisconsin. We call it Green Bay, and it's where you grow Packers. And, you know, it's just, I find it extremely arrogant that San Francisco decided they're the only bay in the world, or at least in the country. Oh, we're the Bay Area. No, you're San Francisco. Know your limits. Green Bay is bigger than you, though significantly cheaper to live in. But so is 99% of the world. So, yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else real big going on right now. There's lots of stuff. Go do cool stuff with tabletop RPGs. Start your own. I made a video today talking about the idea of the best way to become a good game master is to run games and figure out what your particular style is. So go do that. It's fun. I mean, watch my game first, because that makes me feel important. But then after we're done, go and be your own dungeon master or game master. Cool. One of these days I'll do something normal. I think
Anyway.
valid point.
Wrong time to go normal.
Yeah. Well, normal. God. So, all right. Who are my math geeks here that know the difference between mean, median, and mode?
I mean, I was a bad kid, but I don't know.
I have been fixating on the kind of difference between, for anyone that doesn't know, mean, median, and mode are all ways to find averages of numbers, and they use different methods, and they're all useful in very different situations. Your mean is what most people think of as the average. You add all the numbers up, divide by the number of things that you put together, and it gives you the kind of middle of all the numbers. Median is you actually look at every single number, and you find the actual number that's in the middle, not like the average of everything, but it's like if you have like 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 5 would be your median because it's the number that's in the actual middle. And then mode is just what number comes up the most. And they're all very, very useful for different analyses, and they all control for different confounding variables. And yeah, I just find it really, really fascinating when talking about statistical analysis and stuff like that, that the vast majority of people can only think about average and the mean, whereas mode and median can be significantly more accurate and useful depending on how many outliers you have in your data. So I was a math geek for many years. I was a mathlete at one point, guys. Like, I went to, I think I only did it once, but I actually went to I think it might have been called Mathletes or something similar to that. But you go to this thing, and then they give you problems, and you try to solve them and score points for your team. It was the geekiest thing I've ever done in my life. And, yeah, my best friend...
As a nerd myself, I am trying so hard not to pick on you.
My best friend, we grew up together. We met in the 3rd grade, and then after 8th grade, I moved to a different city to go to high school because my parents bought a house. And we stayed in touch all through high school and through parts of college because he was my best friend. But the only time that we really saw each other was I went to this mathlete thing, and he was representing his high school. I was representing mine, and we got to see each other again. And then I never did it again because I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. But he loved it. He also was like an Eagle Scout, and he wasn't just an or no, he was he was an Eagle Scout, which is like your super Boy Scouts. Like you do all of the cool stuff, and you can become an Eagle Scout. And like he did all these cool stuff. He works on semis now. Like he's super mechanically minded. And back when I could drive, I barely understood how the car started, and I knew where to put the gas, and that was it. When I bought my first car, I brought my best friend along and went, as the guy is showing us stuff, I go, can you give us a minute? And I go, okay, I didn't understand anything he said. Is this a good car? And he goes, just shut up, Jody. Hey, does this have a timing belt or a timing chain? And I'm like, what does it mean? He's like, shut up, Jody. One of them is important. I don't know which one. I think it's time for us to return to Legend of Three Kingdoms. I just realized I don't have my ginger beer, so I'm going to play some introductory music for you guys to have something to listen to, and then I'm going to go get my ginger beer. So talk amongst yourselves as cool sounds play. There's the intro.
So I know Jody has his headset on, so he can still hear us. I just had to wait long enough for him to get away from the chair. So, Vala's going to set fire to the entire forest.
Yes.
It's just the issue is how, before we go in there.
I have ideas.
And yes, I can hear you. I love these wireless headsets.
That's why I waited. That's why I waited for you to get out of the chair so you wouldn't be able to get back in time.
All right, let's start this music over again so I can do my normal intro. The party has finally left Middenwell. After arriving there and realizing that something was not quite right, the party went investigating. They found a graveyard where a house once stood. As they investigated it, they found these strange creatures that, while they seemed like they should be undead, they were full of life and life energy. After dealing with them and seeing a vision through Lilliane's grim psychometry, they realized that something sinister was happening in the city of Middenwell, and they went to investigate a local mansion. As they looked around, they noticed that something very heinous had been going on in this house. They found pieces of people in the kitchen that seemed to have been served to someone. They were attacked by strange necromantic fusions of discarded body parts. They found hints that the family that lived there might have had some drama happening, specifically with their court musician and the wife of the head of the household. Then they also discovered a model that showed a ruined city beneath Middenwell. After returning to the city proper, they decided to dig down and did indeed find a strange, rubbled city beneath Middenwell. But the longer they stood there, the more things didn't make sense. Again, through grim psychometry, Lilliane was able to see a vision of something that shouldn't have been possible. A type of magic that was not magic was used to create the original city of Middenwell and the new version that lives on top of it. Before they could investigate further, Relwind started to succumb to something unknown. They eventually returned to the surface, and Relwind recovered. They started noticing that the people who had been emotionless, zombies almost, had started to effectively awaken one by one. Not sure exactly what had caused the strange behavior before or what was causing them to spontaneously awaken now. They decided their best course of action was to continue on their journey to slay the generals of the Dark Lord and hopefully be able to end the chaos that the Dark Lord started. So, they started their long journey to cross the Webwood. So, the Webwood. Quick,
Right along.
quick reminder for me.
Fancy free.
Quick reminder for me. When we last left, you guys had basically camped just outside the Webwood, right? Like you guys hadn't started going through it at all?
I believe so. I don't remember us going through it at all.
Okay.
We had not gone through it yet.
All right. So,
No.
We started off early, but then
yeah.
we knew at some point we were going to have to camp.
Mm-hmm. All right. So,
I don't know how much distance-wise from Midwell to the forest. It's maps 24, so I believe you said it's like 3 days from Midwell to the forest.
to get from Scornmote to Midwell is roughly about a week's journey. So Midwell to the Webwood's around half that, barely. So around the 3-4 days. You guys had, I think originally you guys wanted to be part of a caravan or something, and that just didn't pan out for you, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no caravan right now.
Yeah.
Basically, Midwell is loading, and it's like it's like Baldur's Gate 3 when you're like waiting for the town to fill up around you
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
when you first load the game up.
Really? Come on. There we go. Sorry, I have like prep work.
20
that
tabs, I know.
I had to bring up. So, all right. So, getting to the Webwood, you guys have gone through this one time before. I think it was before Relwind joined you, though. Correct? Relwind, you've never technically
would have
been
had
to
to.
the
Yeah.
Webwood. I mean,
At
you've gone
I think
through
I
it.
would have had to, yes.
Yeah, you went
'cause-
through it, but you probably would have gone through because people don't go through the Webwood on their own. So you would have been a part of a
would have
caravan.
had to have been a caravan.
Yeah, which is a very different experience than what you guys experienced in the Webwood.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
as you guys get ready to go into the Webwood, do you have any prep that you want to do before entering?
Hmm.
I mean, I know that if you generally stick to the path, they say it's safe, but just in case, keep like a rope between each other. Shenanigans happened last time.
All right.
How far is it across the Webwood?
By what measurement? Like,
Flight. Would it be possible to fly over the Webwood?
the trees themselves are relatively tall. And to your knowledge, nothing flies over the Webwood. So you don't know. The journey through the Webwood generally takes a solid day, and it takes a day on purpose. No one wants to actually camp in the Webwood. So normal day's travel is about 8 hours. Going through the Webwood is anywhere between 10 to 12 hours. And you don't stop in the Webwood. So there are very kind of clearly marked campsites on either side, because people will always camp right before they go in, and then get started very early in the day, push through it as quickly as they can, and then camp on the other side. So if you'd like to try flying over, you are more than welcome. Like I said, the only thing that you know is you have never seen birds flying over it or anything flying over it. And to your knowledge, no one is aware of anyone ever attempting to fly over the Webwood.
Okay.
Any other prep work?
Relwyn seemed he again, since he wasn't in a caravan when try to get here, and now since then traveling with these people, two very different experiences across the board, and what we've been through lately, and now we're going into the Webwood. Rowan's like, no, and he's like, boop, 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 boop. Everyone's these three chuckleheads are getting a death ward.
Okay. Probably a good idea.
Yeah, just like last time, I'm gonna tie each other together just in case we get another Henri getting pulled into the canopy again.
All right.
Vala will that is very appreciated. Well, when she just holds out her porridge bowl. Like, I mean, I don't want to assume that you were gonna make breakfast for everyone,
Rowan
but
made breakfast. Don't be the fucking cat that
Please.
acts like I didn't feed you.
Please, sir, I want some more. So everybody remember to put your, how many temp is it?
6.
6. Everyone remember your 6 temp hit point.
I just wanted to make sure I had marked my temporary hit points correctly. That's all. Thank
Just
you.
tapping your fucking bowl. Meow, meow. There's food right there. Turn the fucking bowl.
But I can see the bottom. That means it's empty. So, as you all... I think this will be more fun. Let's start with Relwyn. Choose even or odd.
Odds.
I totally just lost the die. All right. You get
I
to
win.
choose. Pick a number between 1 and 8.
5.
5. Cool. As you guys enter the Webwood, you feel kind of the familiar feeling that you all have felt before. Though Relwyn, for you it feels somewhat different. The last time you went through here, one of the things that the caravan required was everyone that was not a fighting member of the guards was required to be in one of the covered wagons. And they cinched the wagon shut so that you were in this kind of completely enclosed space. And while you heard strange things outside, and every so often would see strange kind of shadows being cast onto the material of the wagon, there really wasn't a whole lot. It was just a really boring 12-hour wait for you. Now coming in without a covered wagon or anything, it feels very different to you. The rest of you guys, you've been here before. As you come into the Webwood, one of the reasons it's called the Webwood is there are copious amounts of webs everywhere. You guys have already met the driders that inhabit the Webwood and the very large spiders. Walking into the Webwood at all, you are always going to be seeing these cobwebs and other things just kind of hanging from the trees like vines. The wood itself feels significantly different. The air around it feels almost oppressive. The temperature drops a little bit as you could come into it. Not to the point of being uncomfortable, but definitely noticeable. And every so often, the trees will shake as if something was running across them. As you guys spend the first hour of the journey kind of going through, for the most part, it's relatively uneventful. Again, every so often you'll hear trees shaking, you'll see a shadow move in the corner of your eye, or you will see something that looks like an eight-legged creature slowly descending, only to discover it is a clump of leaves and sticks that has been somehow jostled from its perch high above you. As you're going, eventually you come to a small clearing with a large mound in the center. Something about the mound seems off, so as you look closer, you realize the mound in front of you is moving ever so slightly, as if it's squirming against an unseen weight. You then realize this isn't a mound, it's an egg sack. What would you all like to do?
Does anybody have any objections if I set it on fire?
Well, I mean, normally I would agree with you, but I feel like that would piss off anyone who wanted to get back to it.
How big is this egg sack?
Probably about 10 feet in diameter. It's kind of circular, and it's about 10 feet in diameter and probably goes up about 7 or 8 feet. So not quite 10 feet high, but
Is it like is it in the air or is it just
it's on the ground.
okay. Uh Forests are her preferred one of her terrains. Does Argenta know what kind of spider or insect egg sac this is?
I'll let you roll a nature check with advantage to see if you can figure it out.
Guidance.
Relwyn kind of comes over, puts a hand on your shoulder, and you can feel just this slight squeeze as he whispers a prayer, and you feel empowered by the Dark Lady.
23.
23. Looking at this, because the egg sac is an actual sac and you can't see the eggs, you're having a hard time pinpointing exactly what kind of creature would have created this. Because of how large it is, your first guess is this is kind of standard giant spider eggs. However, as you look a little bit closer without getting too physically close to it, you realize that the kind of outline of this very large sac has too many kind of bumps and changes in it for it to be effectively just kind of your standard giant spider eggs. Because giant spider eggs are generally about like this big, and you're seeing, eggs that, vary in size from like maybe this big all the way up to this big is what you can guess from looking at the sac itself. And because of that, you realize that this probably contains hundreds, if not over 1,000 eggs. And something like that is not something that a single spider could lay. So this is, as far as you can tell, is a kind of collection of probably an entire, I don't know what you call a group of spiders, a swarm of spiders. This is probably the entirety of the young of a rather large collection of spiders of various sizes and shapes. Without cutting into the sack, you can't really tell much more beyond that, though.
Gotcha. Argenta will like lean over and whisper, I think it's being the entire forest's spider population, all different species, have kind of been gathered into one spot to hatch.
That's unusual for different species.
Very unusual. I don't think it's natural. And if it is natural, it's magically influenced.
You would know, again, how things work in this realm is not 100% the same as how it works in others.
Yeah,
But you'd be aware, like, spiders generally don't share egg locations.
no, they don't.
So,
Do they look close to hatching or?
uh, the uh, the skin of the sack that they're in is thick enough that you can't really tell. Again, every
Okay.
so often you'll see it kind of writhe and wriggle, meaning that at least some of the spiders in there are large enough that they're starting to move, which indicates they're close to hatching. But depending on the spider, that could mean that they might hatch in the next few minutes or the next few weeks. Different spiders have different gestation times.
Vala's fingers are just kind of twitching at this moment.
They light it on fire like the whole forest on fire, Vala. There's cobwebs everywhere.
Well, that's the fact. If the movie yeah, I'll bring up every spider that was, do we really want to be taking out that many spiders?
Not saying it's the right thing to do. If we want to not piss off everyone, I'm okay with that plan.
Of all your abilities, have I ever seen Vala cast Wall of Fire?
No.
Okay. I am concerned with your usual blast. That's more. I'm concerned that'll be more of a signal flare for whatever else may be in the forest.
Yeah,
Understand?
me too.
I'm okay with this. Do we have to just stand here and look at it?
No,
No,
they,
we had move.
yeah, I give it a circle around it, but get around it.
Okay.
Let's be careful that, again, Rowan is not the nature guy, but he is also like what he's encountered. He is concerned that we could trip something and cause this to like, ooh, food, and then
What
Well,
uh
yeah.
what Argenta will do is she'll cast Pass Without Trace on the party.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. Just for clarification, that wouldn't cover webbing, would it?
I mean, pass
Like,
without the trace makes it difficult for people to notice you. It doesn't stop you from stepping in traps or other things like that.
Yeah.
well, I was saying like if we stepped like hypothetically we stepped on a web.
That would be considered a trap,
Oh, okay.
for lack of a better thing. Yeah. The thing that pass without a trace does is you don't leave
Yeah.
tracks, and it kind of muffles your sounds and stuff like that. So, great for stealth. Doesn't stop you from screwing shit up.
Yeah.
So, if you guys would like to just kind of sneak your way around the outside of this clearing, I need 2 rolls from you. I need a stealth check, and then I also need I'll let you choose between an acrobatics check and an agility saving throw, or a dexterity saving throw. Agility.
Okay.
Fucking
You
with too many
guys,
systems recently.
you guys get +10 to your stealth check.
Pass without a trace is massively useful.
Woohoo!
I've gotten like 4s on checks, and then pass without a trace check clicked in, and I'm passed.
I forgot how stealthy Vala is.
All right, let's start with Rowan. What you got for me?
Well, with the pass without trace, I'll be 24.
24, not bad. Lillian?
27.
Cool. Argenta?
30.
Cool. Vala?
38.
So Vala doesn't exist anymore. What did you actually like? What was the D20 roll?
I got a 12.
12. So with a
Plus
12,
16 to my stealth, plus 10 from Pass Without a Trace.
how do you have a plus 16 to your stealth? That doesn't make sense.
Expertise, I think.
Oh.
Bard.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Somehow
because you guys are
multi-classing into
tier
Bard.
4.
Bard and Warlock, I've multi-classed into Rogue.
Yeah. Joy. Okay. Yeah, you guys, you don't seem to have kind of set off anything, but in order for you to stay far enough away from this egg sac so that you don't have any danger of accidentally touching it or piercing the sac in any way, you have to kind of press yourself into the undergrowth of the forest around it, and it is thick with webs and other kind of slimy bits that you're not quite sure what they are. So now, again, you can choose either acrobatics checks or dexterity saving throws, whichever you like better. And we'll do it backwards this time. So, Vala, what do you get?
Ooh, with a dexterity saving throw, a 15.
15. Cool. Argenta?
With a dex save and with danger sense, I could have advantage on that. Let's see. 14.
14. Okay. Lillian?
I got save 22.
Okay. And then Rowan?
Since it would have been the same for me, I just went acrobatics, and I got 17.
17. Okay. So everybody but Argenta, you guys are able to kind of move through without too much difficulty. By the time you get to the end, you are kind of a little bit damper. You guys have bits of webs that are kind of wet on you. But as you get to the other side and you guys are looking around, you don't see Argenta. And as you look back with the fact that Pass Without a Trace is on, it's remarkably difficult to see Argenta, and it takes you a few minutes to finally find that trapped about 4 feet in the air is Argenta, currently having all of their limbs kind of tied and twisted into this strange, wet, web-like this is structure, doing everything that they can to be as silent as they can while being completely trapped in the webs.
So I'm trapped.
Yes.
I will ethereal step.
So as you guys notice where Argenta is, suddenly Argenta becomes significantly more difficult to see. And just so I understand, ethereal step, you just shift into the ethereal plane, right?
Ethereal plane for a single round, yeah.
Yeah, okay. As you do that, you suddenly see in front of you 8 eyes staring directly at you. As a what's it called now? My brain
A
is
phase
just,
spider.
yeah. As a phase spider was getting ready to shift into the prime material plane to sink its fangs into you, I need another dexterity saving throw as you try to dodge its fangs as it tries to bite you.
30-20.
Dirty 20. Yeah, as it comes down, it tries to sink its teeth into your flesh. You immediately just kind of force yourself to fall through some of the webs and are able to kind of dodge out of the way. And suddenly, you guys feel a presence next to you. And as Argenta appears, Argenta is covered in these kind of glowing, sopping wet web-like structures all over them that you kind of picked up in the ethereal plane. But she seems to be all in one piece, all in one wet, disgustingly sticky piece, but one piece nonetheless.
She's just like, there's a phase spider. I don't know if it's going to target us again. We're out of its web.
Start looking around for any sign of the face spider.
Yeah, me
Make a
too.
perception check. Or if anyone wants to make an arcana check, you can do that too.
I got a 12 for Arcana.
Okay.
I got an 18%.
All right. Anyone else rolling?
I did 17 per perception. The other one's definitely looking around.
Let me just see something. Oh, where is it? Not favorite enemy. What's the? Anyway, I got less than them.
Okay.
Don't worry.
So, with a 12 Arcana, you remember hearing stories about kind of the ferocity and determination of face spiders in general. They tend, once they pick a target, they tend to keep going until either they are scared away from prey that's too difficult to kill, or they get their prey. The rest of you, as you're kind of looking around, the thing with phase spiders is you generally don't see them until they're about to strike, because they stay in the ethereal plane until they're ready to attack. So looking around, you're not really seeing any thing. Give me a die. Lillian, make me a dexterity saving throw.
And 25.
As you're sitting there kind of looking around, you see kind of a bright flash out of the corner of your eye, and without even thinking, you immediately kind of duck down and move out of the way as 8 kind of glowing legs go and grab the area that you were in just moments before. The phase spider is probably going to phase out of existence in a few seconds again, because that's what they do. But you all have a brief moment, other than Liliang, because you had to dodge out of the way. Is there any way, do you want to respond to that in any way, shape, or form?
Can it be a spell?
Sure.
Eldritch Blast.
Okay. Go ahead and make it an attack roll. I'm going to give you disadvantages on it just because of how quick you have to be able to hit this thing before it phases back out.
Okay. So 1 Eldritch Blast with disadvantage is 16.
Definitely hits.
That's 5 force damage.
Okay. Do you have any other things that happen with your Eldritch Blast, like the moving thing or anything like that?
I don't
Okay.
believe so. I don't have any improvements on that.
So yeah, you guys watch as Vala immediately kind of points her hand towards you. You see this blast of force comes. It smacks the phase spider pretty solidly, and you hear it kind of shriek out in pain, and then it disappears. And for a moment, you guys wait for the next attack, and it doesn't seem to be coming. You think that you probably scared it off.
Alright.
So, after dealing with that, let's go to Liliane. Choose even or odd.
Odd.
Okay. You do not get to pick a number. I get to pick for you. So, you guys continue along the path, doing your best to avoid the different webs and the things like that. And as you're walking, something starts to seem off. You can't place it at first, but the feeling of something being wrong gets stronger and stronger until you finally place it. It's too quiet. As you look around, you realize you are completely alone, and the rest of your party is nowhere to be found. What would y'all like to do? Each one of you cannot see any other members of your party. You are completely and utterly alone.
Are we alone in the forest? Are we alone in darkness?
In the forest.
Vala would just say to herself, "I'm cat."
Oh
What
no,
urge-
Val's alone.
What
Yeah.
urge it to tell me to do?
The rest of the party's sitting there going, okay, I think we made an agreement, right? If Vala goes off on her own again, we're not saving her? That's what we... Oh, there's no one else here.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Everyone else is like, wait, did I Vala? No, I didn't Vala.
am I the Vala? How did this happen?
Do we all Bella? I will try to retrain myself.
Okay. Go ahead and make me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, and that one for a total of one.
Cool. So, seeing as you are completely alone, your first instinct is, I must have just wandered off, and so you start kind of looking around to see your footsteps, maybe to follow them back, but with Pass Without a Trace
Yeah.
lasting as long as it does, there are no footprints. You're going, oh, well, couldn't have been that long ago. You just start going back the way that you came, and you eventually get to a spot, and you're like, well, wait a minute. I don't recognize any of these trees. You notice that the foliage and stuff like that has gotten significantly thicker, and if you had come through here, you would have had to at least cut some of this down or done something to be able to get through it, because it's just too thick to walk through. So you go double back and see if you can find another path. And after doing this for about 15 minutes, you have absolutely no idea where you are anymore. And in addition to that, you have somehow wandered yourself into a patch where the undergrowth and the webs and everything are so thick that you're basically surrounded on all sides by thick overgrowth and webs. While that is happening, what about the rest of you three?
Vala will just say out loud, I'm gonna set fire to the forest. Nobody's trying to stop me. This is wrong. I will attempt to use message to send
Okay.
a message to our Argento.
All right.
It says, Hey, are you still here? I seem to be by myself. I'm staying put and not moving.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
11.
So you cast the spell, and then you hear back from, it was Argenta, right?
Oh.
You hear back from Argenta kind of grunts of pain and the things like that, and you just hear kind of a few words that you assume are being said in the middle of combat. Driders, lots of them, run.
Do I I'm going to take a moment and try to listen to where the sounds are coming from to see if
Uh,
I can hear them in
Cool.
outside of the message.
Make a perception check with disadvantage.
22.
22. As you listen, you think for a moment you can hear the sounds of struggle to the west of where you are, but as you focus more, you realize it's just kind of an echo off of a tree. The longer you listen, the less you hear anything that could indicate even like a small scuffle nearby you, much less driders, lots of them, run.
Right.
So either you are significantly farther away than you thought, or something's not quite right. While you are thinking about that, Argenta,
Yes.
you get the first part of that message that Vala just sent. I can't remember exactly what she said, but I'm sure Vala remembers, right?
Yes. Hey, where did you guys go? I'm just going to stand here and wait for you.
So, and you've been messaged by Vala before, so you recognize this is a spell. What would you like to do?
So, not really relying on her physical senses because she's been through this forest before. Weird stuff happened. She's instead, because she's kind of connected to different planes
Mm-hmm.
through the cape and through her powers, focus on those dark bonds that bind her, Vala, and Lillian together with the shadow entity and those deals, and see if she can sense them that way.
Ooh. Take inspiration for that, because that's fucking cool. You have an ability that lets you sense portals like once a day or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Let's say burn a charge of that, because I think you have multiple charges, right?
I can do it once a short rest. So I
Once a
can
short
burn
rest. Okay. So this is going to burn that charge. As you focus, you can feel the presence of these planarly connected allies within. How long was the rope that you tied between
it.
people? How long would you say that you?
Like 30 feet probably. Give
Okay.
it, leeway. But
So within about 30 feet, you can sense both of the people. One is roughly where you would expect Lillian to be, were you still traveling in the group, and the other is roughly where you would expect Vala to be.
That is a good question. Sorry for clarification, guys. I forgot about the rope. Is the rope still there on us?
When I get to you, you can ask that question.
Okay.
We're going to finish with Argenta first. It's a good question,
oh,
though.
just because she's the one that sent the message, I'll go to Vala first, and you can't leave her alone.
I mean, valid point. Um, as you are attempting to walk towards her, make me a wisdom saving throw. I'll give you advantage on it.
Well, that's better. 19.
19. Um, walking over to where you think Vala should be takes you the better part of like 2.5 minutes. And most of that time is you just kind of wading through the various underbrush and webs. So it's not very difficult to get over to her. And you can see Vala, but she looks incredibly pale. Like the blood is drained from her face or something like that. And she has these kind of wide eyes of terror. And as you get close, she seems completely oblivious to your presence. No matter what you do, you can call out to her. Nothing seems to make her aware of what's going on. While that's going on, Relwyn, what would you like to do?
Okay. So for clarification, sorry, I'm guessing we were daisy chained. Was that right?
Effectively, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Rowan looks at his waist, I would presume, and is the rope is it dangling or is it
There's no rope there.
no rope there? Okay.
No indication that there was ever a rope there.
Do I get the vibe? Has light been affected? Like we've had instances where the light has become muted in previous experiences. Is it suddenly that situation again?
Particularly, it's darker in the forest, but it's mostly because it's extremely thick overgrowth and stuff like that. So
Okay.
you don't sense that the light being changed or anything in here.
Okay. Understand there may be predators, but there's also his friends may be around. Initially, I was going to do something with the rope, after being reminded that we did have it tied to us. I think the way it's going to be interesting. This will work. I'm going to try something first as a brief to see just to test the waters first. I'm going to cast Word of Radiance.
Okay.
Now, the way Word of Radiance says you utter a divine word and burning radius erupts from you. Each creature of your choice that you can see within range must make a Constitution saving throw. So obviously, a creature's not going to be affected by this, since obviously I see just me and there's nothing else around me.
Mm-hmm.
But it would still give off a brief, I would presume, intense burst of light. Because burning radiance, I would presume, would be at least a good quantity of lumens really quickly.
Yeah. It's a very good. I need to read the full spell effects. I'm just looking at the spell. You said Word of Radiance, right?
Cantrip.
Oh, it's just a cantrip? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say as a cantrip. It's from Xanathar's. I'm like, where did this spell come from? I don't remember that one. Yeah, as you kind of make this bright light flash from you, make me a perception check with disadvantage.
Okay, that'll just be regular since I have my shield. Dirty 20.
320, okay. As the bright light fades, you notice a strange shadow for just the briefest moment, because it takes less than 6 seconds for it to happen. So just for the briefest moment, you notice a shadow on the floor cast by your Word of Radiance that doesn't have an object to cast it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you see a shadow, but you don't see what created the shadow. And it is long and relatively thin, and it's kind of moving off away from you deeper into the forest, but it's connected to you.
So a shadow connected to me. Is
Mm-hmm.
do I? Is it my own shadow or is it like
It's
another
not.
shadow connected?
It's not your shadow. The shadow itself looks like a thin strand of something, but there's nothing to cast the shadow, and it goes directly up to you, and it goes away from you. So it's connected to you, and there's also it's going away through the forest, but the underbrush and everything is so thick here that you can't see more than about like 10 feet away from you. But you see, again, just a brief flash of light. You see this shadow of something that's not there, going away from
Are we still on the path in the forest?
you. You don't currently see a path,
Okay.
but you don't remember ever wandering off the path.
Okay. I think Roland. Okay, I think Roland's gonna have to. He knows better than to panic in a situation like this because obviously from his own life experience, panic can get you killed. Um, I think the only other thing he would do in this instance then balancing concern what old Roland would do versus what his new experiences are, he will simply cast light on his shield.
Okay. Cool. So going back to Liliane, um, your limbs are starting to become heavier because as you've been kind of trampling through the underbrush, little bits of web and other things are starting to collect, and now you are starting to feel everything is just more difficult. Your movement, you're effectively slowed, so your movement has been cut in half. Um, Everything about this just doesn't feel right. You still can't find your friends anywhere, and every time you make another kind of turn to try and figure out where you are, more undergrowth shows up. Some of it is now starting like you're seeing shapes moving above you, very large arachnid shapes are moving above you. What would you like to do?
I think at this point I will draw my sword and activate the radiant light.
Okay. So you draw your sword, slicing your hand as you do, and the blood kind of soaks itself into the blade, and you see this bright light start emitting from your sword. One thing you notice, the sword itself, uh, before you lit it up with your radiant, whatever that's called, the sword itself wasn't glowing or giving any indication that you were in danger. Now, obviously, it is, but you have different like colored glows from danger to radiant.
Yeah.
Like one of them's like blue, another one's like off white, and then there's like a taupe, and then like puce means you're like totally fucked.
Red mean I going for?
Yeah. If it's ever red, you just like at that point, take it out of the scabbard, just shove it in. It's faster that way. So, what would you like to do?
I will use the light to see if I can
Okay. Make me a perception check with disadvantage. Cool. Every time you bring your glowing sword up and you think you found one of these creatures, you feel movement behind you. You'll feel like something tug on your shoulder or something. You immediately come around swinging only to embed the blade into the trunk of a tree or to get it caught in some webs and you have to shake them off. And this goes on for a while where you just keep turning to see the enemy, and every time you do, the enemy's not there anymore, but you can see it somewhere else. Moving on from that, Vala, what would you like to do?
Not hearing them. I've been tricked in the forest before,
Mhm.
so I'm sticking with my. I'm gonna stay in one spot
Okay.
and not wander off.
All right.
I I have personal experience with the horrors of wandering off. I will spend a second level spell slot and cast Detect Thoughts.
Detect thoughts. Okay. As you do, uh, make a wisdom saving throw.
That's a 25.
25. So the first thing that you notice, and it scares you at first, is as soon as you open your mind to detect thoughts, you sense a mind with thoughts within like 5 feet of you. Like, you don't know how you couldn't see them, but right there is someone. And as you focus, you can hear like some of Vala's thoughts. Or not Vala, Argenta. What kind of thoughts are just like on the surface of Argenta's brain right now?
Grab her by her center of mass, toss her over my shoulder. Let's go.
Okay. So you hear this, grab her by the center of mass, toss her over my shoulder. Grab her by the center of mass. Where the hell is her center of mass? Like, there's so much. Like, I mean, she has frills from the dress, and I'm like, what is going on? She doesn't need to be this like cool looking right now. But yeah, I mean, it's obvious to you that it's Argenta's, and again, within 5 feet of you.
I will just go. I, I will T-pose
Okay.
and just be like, I can't see you, but I think you're there. I'm ready.
Argenta, you watch as Vala just sticks her arms straight out and says, I can't see you, but I think you're there. And again, you have looked her directly in the eyes, and she seems oblivious to you.
I just kind of mutter fucking Webwood, and I'll grab her, toss her over my shoulder.
And suddenly, Vala, you feel yourself being lifted through the air. You see these kind of arachnid legs start. Really? Hey, look, someone to ban. Uh, you see these arachnid legs start kind of closing around you, and as you're lifted up, you can start to see this strange arachnid figure kind of drawing you up and wrapping you up in webs and getting ready to devour you. And then suddenly, you're staring at Argenta's lower back, and you realize that you're partially upside down because you've been slung over her shoulder.
No, For a second, I thought you were a Drider.
Hmm.
Argenta, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I can see you now.
All right. Hang on. We're heading to Lillian. Uh, because I know how long this can take because of the underbrush,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna essentially burn a path. It doesn't light stuff on fire, but it does do fire damage around me due to heat.
Okay.
So I'm gonna cast a Chardalon Stride.
Okay. It's another spell I'm not as familiar with, but it sounds badass.
It increases my movement speed by 20 feet. I don't provoke opportunity attacks, and anything I move within 5 feet of takes 1d6 fire damage.
Cool. So yeah, you guys watch as the webs kind of with effectively there's this little kind of cushion of heat air around you, and as you get close to webs, you watch just as the kind of change in air pressure, you watch them kind of give you a little bit of birth as you're. Are you heading towards
Uh, Lillian.
Lillian? Yeah. And so it takes you, with the fact that you no longer have to deal with underbrush in that, it takes you about a minute to get to Lillian. Lillian is swinging wildly at nothing. You can see that her right is on her sword, so it's glowing with radiant energy, and you watch her like impale a tree and then pull it out and then thrust into a bush and bring it out, and she's just swinging wildly at nothing. What would you like to do?
Oh no. Hmm. I put Vala down at this point.
And Vala, you now can see things perfectly fine. You can see Lillian just swinging at nothing, tilting at windmills.
Hmm. I will send a whisper to Lillian.
Okay.
Calm down. Everything is going to be okay. Me and Argenta are here. You can't see us. Just stand still. And I'm probably out of words.
Okay. Lillian, roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Uh, oh, 16.
Okay. So as you are sitting there trying to figure out what's going on, you suddenly hear this voice in your head. Stop fighting. You are mine. I will live off your energies. What would you like to do?
Um, did I, do I immediately recognize the voice at all?
No. The voice seems unique. You've heard, like, you've dealt with the darkness. And this
Yeah.
voice doesn't sound like that. It just sounds, despite the fact of my inability to make a scary sounding voice that doesn't sound the same, it's a completely different kind of scary voice.
Uh, um, did I insight check
Sure, I'll give you an insight check.
to try and
Sure.
place it?
I'll say the insight check is unfortunately going to be made at disadvantage because right now you're believing all this shit. But yeah, go for an insight check.
I rolled that. That is so easy solo.
Not bad. Give me just a second. So as you're sitting there trying to figure out why this voice is talking about consuming you, that it something about this doesn't seem right. The things that you've been fighting are like driders and spiders and stuff like that, and they have very distinctive voices that don't sound like that. And this voice you heard in your head. You didn't hear it with your ears, you heard it in your mind, which would indicate some kind of either telepathy or magical communication. None of this stuff is adding up. Again, every time you swing at a monster, there's nothing there, but you immediately feel another monster right behind you. No matter what you do, no matter how fast you are, you have not hit anything. And now this weird creature that you've never seen and never heard of before is talking to you in your brain.
Who are you? What do you want? I know you're not in that Lord.
You guys hear Lillian say that as she's holding her kind of sword out, looking for it to target Vala and Argenta. What would you guys like to do? I will point out at this point, Vala, like you can see everything that I can't remember if I told you this yet, but
Yeah, I
Okay.
can see it. I don't think she got my message clearly. Do we just want to try to tackle her?
Is she still swinging?
she stopped swinging, but she's
Yeah.
she's effectively in like a ready fighting stance. She has her sword held out, ready to attack anything that comes near her.
Yeah. See us. Although, if we approach her, she might see something else as us.
I have an idea.
Okay.
I'll get within like 30 feet of her, Jody,
Mm-hmm.
and I am going to shift us into my like shadow demi-plane.
Oh, you and Lillian?
Lillian. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Vala, as you're standing there, you watch as Argenta kind of moves forward, kind of grabs her cloak and kind of gathers it around herself, and you watch as a similar cloak kind of gathers itself around Lillian, and then both of them are gone, and the ropes that were tied around them drop to the floor. Lillian, you suddenly feel this strange sensation as you feel yourself shifted to a different plane. You look around and you're in a giant kind of black void. You can see the floor that you're on is made up of this dark shadow that has somehow got solid form. And you can see that you're effectively in a shadow box. And looking in front of you, you see Argenta, also in the shadow box, but something about Argenta seems incredibly different. You can see kind of like shadow wisps forming little kind of things kind of going off of her, and you can see like shadows are kind of coming out of her eyes. She looks very intimidating, but it's obviously Argenta to you.
Yeah, I brought you here to get you out of the webwood for a moment. Hold still, all right?
Okay.
She'll approach Lillian and cast protection from evil and good. I just didn't want to get slashed.
Okay.
Because you asked for consent. See, you're learning.
Remind me, that lasts for 30 seconds or a minute?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay. So you go over, you cast the spell, and about 20 seconds after that, you guys are both back where you were before. You can see the rope that was tied around you is just in a pile at your feet. and Argenta is significantly closer than she was before. But Vala, 30 seconds after they disappear, they reappear.
You guys are back. Lillian, can you see me? Can you see us?
Yeah, everything seems normal now, Lillian.
Okay.
Yeah, I was looking for you
Yeah, this place seems to be playing tricks on us.
guys. Yeah.
I tried sending you both messages, Argenta. When I got my response back from you, you said that you were being attacked by Driders and to run.
I kind of got half of that message and then it suddenly stopped.
Yeah. But I stayed put. I listened this time.
I
Uh,
think
That's not the real ball.
They're on to me.
It's double.
I think Rowan's at the other end of this rope.
Yep, we need to go find him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, are you guys going to tie the ropes back around yourself? Because when you shifted the ropes, you
Yeah,
left the
I'll
ropes.
take the
Yeah.
time to redo it.
Okay. So if you guys follow the remaining rope, you eventually see Relwyn. Though it's kind of hard to look at Relwyn because his shield is glowing with this intense bright light. And with the kind of lower light that you guys are in already, it's intense. So you guys could just see this kind of beacon lighthouse standing there.
I do have a question about that.
Sure.
In the order of operations we are tied in, now I'm guessing because no one suffered any consequence when Argenta picked up Vala and then took off like there was literal fire behind her, because that's what happened when you did that fancy ass move. Did Relwyn get fucking yanked when that fucking happened? Since
Without going to too much detail, you guys have not been more than 30 feet away from each other. And any time you would have been pulled by the rope, your brain would have interpreted it as you tripped.
Okay.
So,
okay, fair enough.
but yeah, you guys physically are incapable, as long as you're tied to the ropes, you're incapable of moving more than 30 feet away from the next person in the line.
Yeah.
And you have all been just wandering around in circles.
I just kind of assumed the rope was a little wibbly wobbly.
Now, the rope's been... Well, first, let's let Relwyn figure out how he's going to figure this out, and then, if you guys have more questions about what happened. I thought when you saw the shadow of the rope, you would figure it out, but...
A long spindly ass shadow wasn't really.
So yeah, you guys can see Relwyn standing there, and did you, you have your shield out, did you take out
Yes.
your mace as well?
No.
Or whatever your weapon is, so you just have your shield out. So
Yeah.
you guys can see his, Relwyn's weapon is still on his belt. So he's not armed, but he does have his shield, and he's basically using it kind of like a searchlight almost to kind of peer around with it. But again, he seems completely oblivious to you three. What would you guys like to do?
My message seemed ineffective before. I could try it again, but
Yeah, when you look at me, it sounded like some dog had to be reckoning me. So, who knows what is?
right.
What would y'all like to do?
Oh. He doesn't have his weapon out, so I'll just walk up to Rowan.
Okay.
I will say you do know that Relwyn hardly ever does use his mace. If he
Oh yeah, I
does.
know. I know.
I prepared a counter spell. Any dangerous spells coming from
Okay.
Welwyn.
So, Relwyn, as you are standing there, you suddenly see a large arachnid style creature start rushing towards you. You can see kind of venom dripping from its fangs. Its front legs are coming up to kind of envelop you, and its fangs are moving closer to your neck. What would you like to do?
No one actually has a plan for this. So what he's going to do, I think what he actually does, he would be pairing. Spell, we'll see. Knowing he because like this is because I want to be fair about this and not not meta at this too much. Knowing that he's not quick on his feet and he definitely can't. It'd be hard for him to dodge. He's going to be prepared to cast Word of Radiance again because this time he does have a target.
Okay. Yep. So
And
because Vala, you mentioned that you were prepared to counterspell, you do see Relwyn starting to cast Word of Radiance, a cantrip, which has both vocal and material components, but no somatic. So if you'd like, you can counterspell because it's a cantrip. It just automatically gets countered. Or because of the cantrip, you can decide not to. What would you like to do?
I will counterspell it.
Okay. So, Relwyn, as you start speaking the word of radiance, you suddenly feel the words kind of ripped out of your mouth. And you recognize the feeling of a counterspell, but the most powerful spiders in the world cannot cast counterspell. It's not something that they have the ability to do.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
It's
if
like,
it was a
yeah,
Drider,
that seemed,
Driders
yeah.
have the because I believe counterspell is purely verbal, right? Like the only materials it has is verbal components.
Somatic.
Oh, somatic. So yeah. So they simply just don't have the stuff to counterspell. It's just not something they can do. But you recognize a counterspell when this spell has gone away. You start feeling the limbs closing around you. You can feel the kind of venom dripping down your neck as the fangs get closer and closer, and your Word of Radiance spell has been counterspelled. What would you like to do?
In Infernal, I say, "Hello, it is I."
You start hearing strange Infernal. Do you speak Infernal?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Okay, so
Tiefling.
Oh yeah, for no reason you can explain, you suddenly hear someone speaking the old language. It's basically like like a Russian immigrant or a Polish immigrant that fled to America. Suddenly hearing someone speaking Polish to them.
Baba Yaga.
So you hear the spider say in, not like perfect Infernal, like it's obvious that this is not a native speaker of Infernal, but the pronunciation is relatively good. Just saying, hey, I'm here, and
You use the formal when you should use the familiar.
Yeah. And there's a thing like you still like they haven't quite figured out how plurals work, and so random words are just pluralized for no explicable reason. What would you like to do?
Okay, so obviously between a spider counterspelling me
and then speaking broken Infernal
and conjugating poorly, have they bitten me?
They're about to. You can feel the fangs, and if you wait, they will eventually. Like you'll feel the fangs could go into, and you feel like your arm's starting to go numb. But it doesn't hurt as much as you think it should.
if this isn't the same turn, he could like this could all be a trick. So that's obviously that would still be possible. He's preparing to use Hellish Rebuke. So like I don't know, you might
Okay.
see like my eyes
So
light up and like glow in the mouth maybe.
So yeah, in order for Hellish Rebuke to work, I think you have to take damage, right?
I have to take damage first.
So yeah, like you feel the fangs kind of pierce your neck, but they don't hurt. And you can feel like your arms starting to go numb. But again, none of it is painful. And as much as you're, it kind of feels like, when a limb falls asleep, that weird kind of fuzzy feeling, like your fingers and stuff are still working. They're pinned to your body because of the legs of the spider, but nothing hurts. And so you are not able to cast Hellish Rebuke because you're not taking any damage. But
I just grab his shoulders and I start shaking him back and forth to see if it breaks it.
Suddenly the spider starts kind of twisting and jostling you around, seemingly trying to break your neck.
Oh, the spider's a nanny.
If you want to make a wisdom saving throw with advantage.
Yeah, I was gonna say because this is definitely like
Yeah.
the holodeck is glitching now.
Suddenly
Hello?
everybody is Data.
Relvin, are you there?
24.
It is I.
Yeah. So as you sit there, the spider slowly kind of fades away, and you look into the eyes of Argenta, who's still just kind of shaking you and speaking infernal to you.
Do you know how to conjugate? Would you stop it?
I think he just asked you out on a date. As you guys all look around, the area that you're in looks kind of familiar, as much as this forest can look familiar to you. You don't think that you've gone extremely far from the last location that you can remember walking. This whole ordeal probably took the better part of about 20 or 30 minutes. But you don't think you've backtracked or anything like that. You think you're in the same spot you were in before this whole thing started. And looking around and kind of gauging how far you've traveled, you think you're roughly about halfway through the Webwood at this point. Unfortunately, that is where we are going to end it for tonight. As always, if you missed any of this, I do upload all these to my YouTube channels, youtube.com/TrainerJody. Check out Essential Essence 20. It's my new series talking about the Essence 20 system and kind of doing a deep dive into the various roles, which is their version of classes for right now. Otherwise, again, it is all for me today. I will see you guys in the next time. All right? Bye-bye.
Bye.